Oh hey there you! Welcome to a little episode of the Warframes, which is like a little add-on episode to my CAMBION DRIFT / Necrolist guide video, because whilst I was making that video I saw a little chit chat going on in my Discord, and our beloved Countful Dread was giving a new player the heads up on where to get loot easily on the CAMBION DRIFT. And it turned out I didn't actually know this information, so I'm going to add this video in the hopes that it helps some newer players, or even experienced players who maybe didn't know this. So, out on the CAMBION DRIFT at the Necrolisk, you will see what they call Requiem Obelisks, and I'm going to put a map up where they will potentially spawn in. Now, these areas are always there, but whether the Requiem Obelisks spawn in on those areas is random every time you go out onto the CAMBION DRIFT. And linked to these Requiem Obelisks, the clues in the name are Requiems, and if you've done any Vglyphs or Isolation Vaults, you will recognise these Requiem glyphs. There's Fast, there's Wrist, there's Voam, etc. I'll put the names up on the screen as I'm chitty-chatting. Now, each Requiem has a prerequisite of what you must do or what it will do to get it to drop the delicious loot, and this loot is stuff that you would have to fish for or mine for and then take your goods to Daughter to be cut up, and it just helps your component farming when you're out on the CAMBION DRIFT. And I believe Necros's Desecrate would increase the loot drops. Anything that increases a loot drop will help you, I think. But either way, oh man, I was having a blast. So I'm going to take you around these different locations. The only one I couldn't find or get to spawn in was Loke. I'll put an arrow to that on the screen. I couldn't get it. It was like a claw effect apparently, but yeah, no, couldn't find that one. But I will show you all the others and the impact on the loots that it had. So strap in, let's have a look. Now, before we get into the individual requirements, let's just head to the Tenno Research Lab at your friendly local dojo. There is such a thing called lockpin research, and if you buy that blueprint, it's permanent, it's reusable. Go to your gear tab in your foundry and build it. It takes a minute. You can then, once you've collected it, it builds one at a time. Apply it to your gear wheel, and what will happen is in any, I think it's any mission, but very useful in free roam, if you want to mark a location permanently so that it will always turn up on, I think it's yours and your squad mate's HUD when they're in a session with you potentially, you can just use this lock pin, drop it down, give it a color, give it a name. You can ask it to not show on your HUD if you don't want your HUD to be too cluttered, but I don't know how else you'd find it on your map because they don't appear on the map per se, but on the HUD, and you can make it any color you want. And it'll stay there. So if I confirm this and I leave the CAMBION DRIFT and I come back out, it will remain there for me. I'm not sure if it remains there for my squad mates. So there you go. That's a useful little addition. I don't think I'd want to mark every single Requiem Obelisk up, because you get used to doing like a little lap around the CAMBION DRIFT looking for them, and once you get your eye in and you know where those locations are and you're familiar, you won't need these lock pin markers, but they do come in useful. So guys, if you have used them, let me know what you use those lock pins for. And the other thing you will need is an amp. You definitely need an amp because you need to be in operator mode to fulfill the requirements to get them to drop the loot. You can kill the enemies once they start to spawn in around the Requiem Obelisk, but it just won't work with the loot drops, the specialized loot drops. Okay, so you need an amp before you come out here, a reasonable one. As long as you can kill some stuff with it, you should be fine. Or come out with somebody with a better amp than you, I don't know. But as you can see, we're heading to one of the locations on the map, and that is Voam. So we're gonna take on Voam, and the requirement for the Voam glyph is that when you kill any of the mob that's within range of this Requiem Obelisk, and we're going to activate it by shooting this reactive crystal with our amp. When you kill the mobs that are within this range, as you can see, there's like a bluish kind of squirty whirly around it, pulsating outwards. It will, those tethers will kill the mobs, but if you kill them in range with your amp as well, they will drop resources. And as you can see, the resources splurging out all over the place, and if I zoom in on the screen you can see that we are already getting goodies dropping. So between ourselves and this Requiem Obelisk, if we murder everything between us, they will spew forth some delicious goodies. And now the next one I found was Riss, which is on this occasion was right at the exit stroke entrance to the Necrolisk. And as I approached it, the enemy starts spawning in. That happens a lot, so the best thing to do is just trigger the glyph ASAP so that it starts interacting with the mobs. With Riss, it is basically a blinding pulse. So when it pulses, then kill the enemies, but you have to kill them in operator mode with your amp for them to drop the specialized loot. And for some of the Requiem Obelisks, I felt like I was picking up loads of loot and other times none at all. There is one that potentially won't drop any. It's the randomized one. We'll get to that near the end. But yeah, it might just be that I'm not fulfilling the requirements or not killing the enemies quite at the right time. As I progressed through this for this video, I got better at it. So practice makes perfect, guys. Okay, for fast, I found it in this location on this playthrough. I mean, they are random. Please don't think you're going to find fast in that area every time. Triggered it, and with fast, it basically pulses out radiation, which, there you go, they're glowing, which confuses them. There you go, confusion reigns. And if you kill them once they've been pulsed with radiation, they should drop some loot. The loot kind of splurges out of the obelisk. Just run around in this little area, and you should be able to pick it up. And my advice is wait for the obelisk to do a thing, to do its pulsating thing, if it's a pulsating effect, before you kill the enemies to get that good loot. And now on to Yahoo, which is a pulse push kind of effect. I can't remember where I found this on the map, but in one of those locations. And it basically pulses a force wave that pushes the enemies to the edge. And if you kill them while they're at the edge of this massive blue wibbly wobbly light, they should drop resources. Now, it took me a moment to kind of learn how to kill them right at the edge of this circle, because it does push them to the edge, but I don't know what I was doing wrong. But eventually I did improve the resource drop rate doing it this way on this one. No, that delicious loot. Anyway, moving on to Netra, which I found right by the exit entrance on this particular one. Once it's triggered, it will spawn in two of those wibbly wobbly sort of type face hugger alien things that usually attach themselves to your face. They don't on this occasion. They will potentially kill the enemies. Now, obviously, higher level enemies, it might take them a few goes. What I was trying to do was like take the worst of the Eximus kind of armor off, or their protective shell, so that when the face huggers spawn in, it's like a pulse. They had a good chance of killing the enemies, and it will then drop loot. I didn't find this to be as fruitful as the other types, but I mean, you can go in and out as many times as you want, and they'll respawn endlessly, these obelisks. So, you can spend a good half an hour to an hour just doing this, and it's just no mining, no fishing, just lots and lots of goodies. And now moving on to Kra. As you can see, I'm zooming around in my Archwing, and I found Kra at this location. As you come out of the Necrolisk, it's kind of to your right and up a bit. And when I triggered it, this one basically slows the mobs down. So as long as they're that sort of pulsing blue colour and they're going slow, when you kill them, as you can see, that beautiful loot, those little round things, especially that deep blue one, that always fills me with joy. They seem to drop quite a lot of delicious stuff. Now, I did drop a resource blessing, and a resource booster as well, and I didn't notice a huge amount in an increase in these, so I'm not actually 100% certain that the resource drops worked with it, but I still popped them anyway, and everything else I was picking up was doubled up and boosted anyways. And I don't know if the amount that drops is random from these things or how well you fulfill the prerequisites, but yeah, I forgot I could go invisible as well as an operator until you shoot your amp, obviously. But yeah, shoot them when they're slowed and they will drop that delicious loot. And on to the last one for this video, because I couldn't actually find Loke at all. I need to do some research and find out if there's like a special way of finding it. I don't know. But this one is ZARA, and with ZARA, when you shoot it, it becomes one of the other glyphs. So it's a randomized effect, a bit like the Requiem relic you can put in your Cuba Lich, and this one became Yahoo. The only problem with the ZARA is there is a chance that even if you fulfill the prerequisites of that specific glyph that it becomes, i.e. the Yahoo, which I think that effect would be like it pushes them to the edge and you have to kill them on the edge, there's a potential that it won't drop any loot at all. So you kind of basically wasting your time. If you can see it's not dropping any loot, just don't bother. It's dropping energy, as you can see, but nothing juicy and delicious. So there you go. That's the Zato. And while I was out here, I just want to show you that I found some Velocipods. And this is the thing I love about when you're bimbling around in an open world, especially the CAMBION Drift. Lots of other things appear, and as you can see, I zoomed into the location. They do tend to spawn in that location quite a lot, but it's just random. If you can get hold of them, they don't mark up with waypoints. They don't show up with your Trank Rifle map, so just if you can hear them flittering around, there's usually 3 at a time, and as you can see, there's a different occasion where I found a lot of purple Velocipods. They seem to be the common ones, but they're usually in groups of 3. And I don't know if you knew this about Velocipods, but if you can get to them before you... I don't know if you can do it when you trank them. You can ride them like a K-Drive. I mean, there is a reason why Sun sells a K-Drive skin that looks like a Velocipod. It's because you can actually ride the Velocipods like a K-Drive on the CAMBION Drift if you can get to them. They don't tend to run away from you. And as you can see, we're having a whale of a time. Now, I did find a white Velocipod, which is slightly rarer. I don't know if there's green and blue ones, I can't remember. But the white one was like up on a mountain, a hill, and it sort of glitched into the side of the hill. I managed to take it down and capture it, but if you can get them when you get them, just get them, because they're rarer and they cannot be hunted essentially with your echo lures, etc. But in the meantime, you know, just go out and have a whale of a time on your giant kind of space dragonfly. Anyway, there you go. So there you go, my darlings. That's a little episode on how to get some more loot on the CAMBION Drift and how to have a whale of a time on the Velocipods. And all that remains is for me to thank you for joining me, and if this video helped you or entertained you in any way, shape or form, or any of my other videos might tickle your fancy, please consider liking and or subscribing, and leaving me a comment telling me how you're getting on. And you can always join on the Discord, there's a link on the channel, and also we have clan spaces left, especially welcoming newer members, but you know, experienced members are also welcome. But I just want to help people out in the game if I can. So there you go, my darlings. Thank you for joining. I really do hope to see you again in the next one, no matter what it may be. But in the meantime, you take care now, and goodbye.